All right, good morning, everybody. First off, to the journalists here, I want to thank you guys for covering this. You guys got a dangerous job right now. I appreciate that. So just stay safe while we're doing all this. I know last night a couple journalists got caught up in some of this too, so we're looking into that, see what happened, so apologize for any of that, but please stay safe. What we saw last night was in dozens of cities across America, unrest taking place. We saw that obviously right here in our city as well. Like most Louisvillians, I'm heartbroken and furious when you see this taking place in our city. This is not what Louisvillians do. This is not who we are. This is not the compassionate city that we are. We're at the corner here of 4th and Muhammad Ali, where Thomas Merton had his epiphany about all of us being a people interdependent and relying on each other. And so that's a message I want to continue to send to everybody, that we're all in this one way or another, whatever happens. So we've got to be here after people leave town to bring our city back together. I have been surveying the damage here this morning as well as the cleanup. It's primarily windows, glass damage, etc. It's all unacceptable in terms of what we have going on in the city right now. I want to announce a couple pieces of news this morning. Our goal is to continue to keep the protests peaceful here in our city. I'm grateful LMPD has shown tremendous constraint throughout this process under very difficult circumstances. I also want to thank the Kentucky State Police, who provided support last night up as well. But the tone clearly changed last night. The number of people on our street clearly changed last night as well. And this turned from being a peaceful protest into violence and terrorism and looting on the streets of our city. Out-of-towners are here, anarchists intending to destroy our city. Louisvillians have to make it clear to them that they are not us. They do not represent the soul of our city. They do not represent our intentions to peacefully protest in our city. They do not represent what Breonna Taylor and her family would want as well. I've talked to Breonna's wife, I've talked to Breonna's mom again this morning. They clearly understand protest needs to be peaceful. And much as her words went out yesterday, let's echo that. For people that want to honor Breonna Taylor, violence is not the way to do it. Her family has been very clear on that as well. Today, what our citizens deserve here in Louisville is order. So I'm announcing a few changes. This morning I spoke with Governor Andy Beshear. I asked him to activate the National Guard, the Kentucky Guard. He readily agreed to do so. The National Guard will be appearing in our city here shortly later here today. More details on that will be forthcoming. I'm also implementing a dawn to dusk curfew so people understand that if they want to protest, they can do so while it's light outside. First and foremost, I encourage people to stay home and stay safe. Peaceful protest, certainly I respect that under our Constitution, but this has gone way beyond peaceful protest. So dawn to dusk curfew, first and foremost, I would just encourage everybody to stay home. We don't need people to come downtown and gawk at the windows. There'll be plenty of photographs of that, plenty of TV footage for that to be done. If you're a Louisvillian and you want to help us right now, what you can do is stay home and encourage your friends and families and everybody else to stay home and work for justice in orderly ways. Just a last point, there's an underlying frustration throughout America that I've spoken about many times in terms of the need for structural major reform that connects everybody to a future that is bright and hopeful. And our American system is not producing that for way too many of our citizens. For you all that know me, I've talked about that repeatedly for over 9 years now. And so we have to address that. And this cry from dozens of American cities is saying that. And so with a sense of urgency, we have to do that. But that does not mean that disorder is a way to do that. Our citizens deserve to be able to go about their life in an orderly fashion. And when we see anarchy in our streets, when we see looters in our streets, that is not the way to do that. So for Louisvillians, let's keep the faith. We know how to do this together. We're the city of Muhammad Ali. We're the city of Thomas Merton. We're in this together. We're going to be in this long after the anarchists leave town. So please, everybody, stay home stay safe, stay healthy. Also, we're in the middle of a pandemic. I want to remind everybody of that as well. So please use proper distancing while we're going through all this as well. With that, I'll take any questions. All that's being assessed this morning. We'll be holding another press avail later here this morning with more details. But
any arrests, or how hard will it be to arrest anyone when folks are wearing masks? What do we know about that?
well, we're obviously changing our tactics here this evening, because the tone of this situation changed dramatically last night. So we intend to have more resources to enforce that. But again, more details later.
Any more arrests?
Jesse Halliday, you want to speak on the police side?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jessie Halliday with LMPD. We had 6 arrests last night that we have been able to confirm, and some of them were related to looting. Obviously, our tactics over the last couple of days have been to allow people the opportunity to express their frustration, their anger, and our tactics have mirrored that, to set up, give people as much space during these events as we can. Last night, frankly, our officers were quite overwhelmed. There were several times during the incident where we had officers surrounded, where it became a safety issue, where it was very volatile, and we had people here who were obviously here to try to fight with us. They were carrying hammers, sticks, shields, long guns. They were looking to have a fight. That is what they came here for, and we had to take a tactic that preserved life and safety. We had had we tried to engage more quickly, I think we would have had a very different situation. We've had 6 officers who were injured last night. 1 was taken to the hospital after having a firecracker thrown at him, and he has likely had a concussion. We have a 2nd officer who may have suffered a concussion. These guys were taking Molotov cocktails, and they were trying to not create a situation in which other people were injured. As that night went on, we saw the crowd spread out, which is extremely difficult to manage. They went all the way as far as Bardstown Road and Eastern Parkway, which creates a lot of challenges for officers who are trying to be safe themselves and protect others. As it got later into the evening, we started to see the looting. And we saw that around the city. So we were then in a position where we had to switch our tactics, try to get more mobile, try to be more responsive to where situations were breaking out in different pockets of the city, which becomes really difficult when you have people in the streets moving around. So we were doing our best to model that. That's why, as the mayor said, we're changing our tactic. This is no longer about allowing peaceful protest. If that wants to go on, we are going to allow that. But we will be out. This is about stopping criminal behavior at this point. This is not protest. This is now criminal behavior, and that was a very difficult pivot for our officers to make as that happened, because they were overwhelmed themselves. We believe it was one of our SRT officers. We are still trying to identify exactly which officer. As I said last night, we've seen the video. I've spoken to Caitlin myself. We obviously, targeting the media is not our intention. There was a lot going on last night, and to be fair to both the officer and to Caitlin, we need to take a deeper look at what happened and what prompted that action. So we have said that we will do that, and if there needs to be discipline, we'll address it.
How are you guys quantifying folks that are supposed to be coming from out of town or causing this damage? How are you going to do that?
We have a lot of intelligence tactics that we use. We're monitoring social media. We obviously have people on the ground who can see the license plates of these folks that are coming out. So there's a lot of ways for us to do that. We're not really ever going to be able to pinpoint a percentage, but it was a very clear situation that I want to also point out happened in cities around the country. So this is a larger issue than just what happened here. there is an effort going on around the nation to create this kind of disturbance. So it is bigger than just a group coming here.
Obviously, this is a group of people that does this on a regular basis, the type of tactics that were used, small groups of 20 or 30 people moving in a disciplined order at different points in the city, designed to separate our police officers as well. So this is a group of people, of anarchists, that do this type of thing around the country. Clearly their practices were right here in our city as well. Many of our local activist groups have also said this on social media. So again, we want our people to stay home, stay healthy tonight. If you're going to protest, get out and do so peacefully, but do not give our city over to these out-of-town anarchists.
And they are from Louisville, and they are trying to send a message that they're fed up.
The frustration that people have about Breonna Taylor's death is very understandable. It's not just the tragedy of Breonna, as I've said many times, it's this larger context of what's been happening in America for 400 years on the disproportionate power imbalance between police and our African American communities. So that emotion is understandable. The emotion within Breonna's family that I've talked to is understandable. But her family says this must be done peacefully. This must be done orderly. As you can see, this is happening in dozens of cities across America. So this is an America challenge that elected officials, number one, people have to vote. So they put in office people that will enact structural change. And then number two, it has to be done so America is a land where everybody feels connected to opportunity. And that's not the case in America right now. And to run away from that is to close your eyes, to be blind to that reality. So that's not going to be solved today. This weekend needs to be a step, a significant material step, but to act like this is business as usual in America would be the wrong thing to do. Yeah, there'll be more police resources and National Guard on the street tonight. Obviously, with everybody, I encourage you to stay home. If you have a place to go to outside of downtown, just to be extra precaution, I would do that. I just want to ask the citizens of Louisville to be part of co-producing a safe and quiet city tonight. If protesters or if anarchists are going to come out, let us know who they are. They're clearly not from our city. There's multiple pieces of evidence around that, and you can just see it. So it's not hard to figure out. So if Louisvillians stay home, that would be a good start to get this done. So again, dawn to dusk curfew.
Sorry. Any more media questions?
We have one for about LMPD.
Who are you with?
How are you doing?
Okay, go ahead.
Can you clarify the dawn to dusk, exactly how you might be doing that? And then also, there were several reports last night of officers releasing tear gas on people who were peacefully protesting, both from our reporters and people who were there last night. Any explanation or comments of why that happened?
Yeah, well, what's dawn? Well,
I mean, so the situation with tear gas is that is a dispersal tactic, and unfortunately, people who are being peaceful but are gathered in areas where people are not are going to end up caught in the middle of that. That is something we were trying to do, is disperse crowds. That is not a weapon that we use. It is something we're trying to get people to space out. So unfortunately, people who were trying to be peaceful do get caught up with those who are not being peaceful.
And I just want to say too, I mean, yesterday we saw some families down here with their kids thinking it would be a neat experience. I mean, we are past that stage. Okay, this is a dangerous situation, again, when you have out-of-towners walking around with long guns. Things can change very quickly, and we pray that they do not. So there are plenty of ways to see what's going on. Hopefully it'll be a minimal amount without coming down here. So please, Louisvillians, show restraint, stay home, stay safe. That's our main message out here. That's why we're adding more people, more resources from the National Guard, and putting a curfew in place so there's a very clear signal about what's acceptable and not acceptable. The curfew will be from dusk to dawn.